This is My First Job in Sports, the show created to kickstart your journey toward a successful career in the sports industry. Presented by SBRnet, your comprehensive source for data focused on sports fans and more. Here's your host of My First Job in Sports, Neil Schwartz.
Dr. G, this week, one of the things that really dominated the world of sports was the NCAA decision that they are now able to pay athletes, kind of not hiding behind NIL anymore. Schools will have like a salary cap of about $20.5 million, which they'll be able to spread around, as they see fit. Okay, good thing, bad thing, not sure. What do you think about this?
I'm on the side of not sure, bad thing. I'm not on the good side at all right now. Mm-hmm. I understand they were trying to do something about NIL because I believe these universities felt that NIL was getting out of hand.
Right.
And so they felt like that they needed to step in. But we know the NCAA, they like having control. And I just don't know if I like this approach when it comes to all the nuts and bolts of this deal. What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, the salary cap thing troubles me a little bit because I think what's going to happen is, even though the idea was to provide more money to more athletes, I actually think it's going to go the other way. And I also think you're going to get an experience where the rich are going to get richer and the poor are going to suffer. Mm-hmm. Schools like last night, schools that, we watched in the NCAA finals last night, University of Florida, they have a massive, massive athletic budget. And of course, a lot of that comes from the football program. I'm sure some's going to now come from the basketball program after winning a national championship. But again, I just think that schools that have, more students, bigger budgets, bigger opportunities are going to be able to, continue to pay more, and it won't necessarily affect them. Although now with the salary cap, not quite sure how this is all going to work. I really am not.
Yeah, obviously, I believe student athletes should be compensated. I'm on that side. However, we have to be a little bit more strategic on our approach here. So I agree. I think it's going to be roster limits instead of, what they're trying to do here. So I don't think it's going to get at what they're trying to get at.
Yeah, they want to put a cap also on outside NIL deals to about $600 per year, and they have to be vetted through a third-party clearinghouse, they're calling it. But the interesting thing is that NIL deals must meet fair market value. Frankly, I don't even know what that means. And you know what? It says it right here. When I was reading the article about it today, they don't know what it means either. So, it would have been helpful, I think, the NCAA to, for some reason, they don't seem to like to put what I would call hard guidelines or guardrails on these kinds of things. And it seems like the judge that, kind of helped craft this, might not have even really been that, tuned into some of the things that are going on. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting situation. But I want to get to our guest, Camryn Cook. She works for Austin FC, the MLS football team in Austin. She has a great story. She started out with Real Salt Lake City. She's from Baylor University. She Dr. Kirk Wakefield, who we mentioned profusely during the interview, gets a lot of love here. But let's get to our interview with Camryn Cook, who currently is working for the Austin Football Club. Did I get that right? Austin FC?
That is correct. Austin FC.
Dr. G, meet Camryn Cook. Camryn, meet Dr. G. Dr. G is our co-host on My First Job in Sports.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Camryn.
Nice to meet you as well.
So, usually we have, we ask our guests to kind of kick off the show with a little bit about their background, or I give a little bit about the background. In this case, you know what? You could probably tell the story better than I can. So why don't you go ahead and give us the story of Camryn Cook?
I would love to. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited to be here and just share a little bit about me and my career and all the things sports. So I am born and raised originally in Kansas City. Grew up, my parents both went to the University of Kansas. They loved college basketball, so kind of always grew up around sports. I played soccer for 14 years growing up, so just always been around sports, always kind of had that in the back of my head of just the passion for it. I went to Baylor University, where I first studied biology to be a physical therapist. That quickly,
biology, sports, that tracks, right?
Was quickly not the passion. And I actually met a friend who told me that I knew a lot about sports and I should study sports marketing. So I figured out that Baylor had an amazing program called S3. Dr. Kirk Wakefield, the greatest.
And his son. Did you also take
and his
what
son,
course
Dr.
with
Lane?
His son, Lane Wakefield?
Yep, Lane Wakefield and Dr. Kirk. And then Kirk's wife actually taught me a tableau class at one point. So I got the whole Wakefield experience
I hadn't met her
at
yet.
Baylor, which was fantastic. So did S3 at Baylor, did the sports marketing and analytics track where I graduated in 2021, kind of still COVID time. So was looking for a job where I could. I've always been kind of open-minded to just going wherever and seeing where the wind will take me. So I landed in Salt Lake City, Utah, where I worked for Real Salt Lake, their professional soccer team out there in fan service and more of the ticketing side, helping with fans and their experience of the game and all of those fun things. So was out in Salt Lake City for 2 years and then moved here back to Austin. I've always wanted to be back in the great state of Texas. My dad's originally from Houston, so my grandparents were pulling for me to come back to Texas. And so here I am. I've been here almost 2 years, where I'm now the manager of corporate partnerships here at Austin FC.
Okay, and Camryn, I just have to say, I am so excited to have you here today because 4 out of the last 5 of our interviews have been women. And I'd like to say that's the Ashley effect. That's the Dr. G effect.
Of course.
I think I have a little bit to do with that. You scheduled it, but I mean, I just think you had a proclivity towards women during that time. And so, Camryn, how would you think, or why do you think sports is really drawing women now and even increasingly?
Yeah, it's such a great question. You know, when I was looking to move back to Texas and work for Austin FC, something that really drew me to Austin FC was my boss, Allison Roscoe. And she is just such a strong woman who walks into a room and just commands the space, and people respect her and listen to her. And I think with that, just having her as a role model for me especially has been so great, just because I can see how respected she is in the sports industry as a woman. And, you know, thinking about going into sports for a while, everyone says like, oh, this is an industry run by men, which there are a lot of men in this industry. But I think that as a woman, learning the business of sports and using just all of that creative knowledge that I gained at Baylor and being able to use that here at Austin FC has been just really great. I think that, you know, our team, our corporate partnerships team, we have a lot of women on our team that, I don't know, it's really interesting to see just the growth of women and how well women work in the sports world. It's been really cool.
Yeah, and your story really sounds like if you see it, you can believe it. And you talked about how you had that role model. How did you find that role model?
Yeah, I think honestly, going back to where I was trying to find a job, I think, you know, a lot of the times when you're looking for a job, you look at different brands, and there's lots of brands that look really appealing and great. But I think what's really important to remember is to look at the people that you're going to be working with and working for. When I was thinking about moving to Salt Lake City, the one thing that really drew me there was my old boss there. And he just kind of was more of a mentor to me. And I knew that I could trust him going into that job, that he would really teach me and give me all the things that I needed there. And so when I was looking at Austin FC, something about Allison that I was really fond of was that I could tell that she really cared about me as an individual and as a person. And so I knew that she was going to actually lean into helping me understand my role, understanding just what it means to be in corporate partnerships. So honestly, looking for just that person that you're going to be working for and understanding how they are as a leader, a role model, I think is super important when looking for a job.
Okay, so you're a senior, you're sitting in Dr. Kirk Wakefield's class. In fact, I may have been in that class. I don't know, but Dr. Kirk's great. But tell us how you got the first job with in Salt Lake City. It's Real Salt Lake City. Is that the way
Real Salt Lake? Yep.
So tell us what you did, where you found it. You know, what's the process?
Yeah, for sure. I think something really important that I did my senior year was just kind of looking on LinkedIn and looking at all the different roles that there are in sports. I think when you're first looking for a job, it's easy to kind of categorize and bucket that there's only sales and there's only analytics, or there's only sales and whatever. And there's so many jobs in sports that you can be looking for. And so just using LinkedIn as a networking tool to look at different roles that people have and how they've climbed up the ladder in their industry, I kind of just started doing that and looking at all the different sports and all the people there. But I landed on my old boss at Real Salt Lake. He had reached out to me just to kind of connect and chat. And I just kind of used him as a mentor person in my life and asked him lots of great questions and advice about how to get a job. S3 at Baylor does this really cool thing called Pro Day, I think is what it's called.
I think it is.
And they set up lots of kind of just like, it's almost like speed dating where you're meeting all these people in different at different teams. And so I could not stop thinking about Real Salt Lake and how interested that my old boss was in me as a person and in my life and really wanted me to grow in that role. And so I kind of he had offered me a job and he said, think about it. I don't want you to make a quick decision, but just know that you do have a job here if you want it. And so thought about it a lot, prayed about it a lot, and took the job with him.
And so that role was the fan relations rep role, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So can you describe that role for students? Because like you said, they often go into the bucket, I'm going to have to go into sales, right? Going out, but you worked in fan relations. So can you talk about that role? And then also specifically, how did that role prepare you for your role in sponsorships?
Yeah, for sure. So fan services, basically my job was I managed about 500 different season ticket holders and their accounts. So that was anywhere from a day one season ticket holder that had been with Real Salt Lake since 2008 to a new season ticket holder that had just moved to Utah. So it was kind of unique for me to come into a role of some of the season ticket holders knew a lot more than me about the team and all the players that had gone through there. And so managing just their tickets, managing their money, making sure that they were happy with their experience, taking back survey feedback, and then brainstorming just how we could make the fan experience overall a better time for all the fans that were spending that money to come and see Real Salt Lake. I almost said Austin FC. I think it was a really challenging and fun first job for me because I had to really use all of my tools to collaborate with a team, to make sure that I was being professional to people that were in the stadium, to come up with ideas that would make people want to keep coming to the stadium. And what's unique about working in sports too is that you're not selling insurance or anything like that to someone who doesn't want it.
now you've done it.
You're selling a fun experience. And so thinking about me growing up and getting to go to sporting events with my family and sharing those memories with my parents and my siblings, that's something that I was giving to these people. And something that was so rewarding is that you would get this feedback from fans of, oh my gosh, thank you guys so much for doing this. This was my daughter's first time experiencing Real Salt Lake, and we will never forget this experience. So that was always really great and rewarding. And then moving into corporate partnerships, just being able to collaborate with people, brainstorming ideas, managing, being very organized. I think going from 500 season ticket holders to 12 partners feels like a large jump, but you're managing different things in that aspect. So it's been really fun transition.
You know, you just mentioned something about, sports and fun. And as Dr. G knows, when I talk to a lot of students every year and, talk about, what drew them to the sports business. And so I'm always, there to interject what drew me to the sports business literally 25 years ago. Cannot believe I'm that old. But I don't act it, as Dr. G could probably attest to. But the thing that has always drawn me to sports is that sports are fun. We're talking fun things. Just like you mentioned, there is nothing better than to see, how a young person, I know I experienced it with my 10-year-old grandson when he went to his first Miami Dolphin game. I mean, the game just coincidentally went into overtime and he's standing on his seat and giving people around him high fives so he doesn't even know. And it was just wonderful. And that's a really big thing. But, right, as you said, sports are fun. But let's get back to the subject at hand, Camryn. So tell me about what your day is like now that you're managing corporate sponsorships, because really you're dealing with people at a really higher level and things like that. What's your day like?
Yeah, for sure. I think, sports there's always something different, which is unique about working in sports is your day is always different. Sure. And there's always different things being flung at you, whether that's internal or external. But I think right now, one of my main things I do is just figuring out what each partner has and as their goals. Right. So some of the partners I manage, they have different goals of marketing. They want to get their name out there more. Maybe they're a new brand. Something unique about Austin FC is a lot of our partners are local to the city. Right. So that's always been really fun. Sometimes partners want to do different, they all have different goals. So My day-to-day is kind of just working through different partner expectations and depending on the time of year, we're kind of at the beginning of the season still, Q1. So starting to plan kind of some summer activations and what that looks like for our partners. And then hopefully if the teams does well enough, we can move through on to playoffs.
And Camryn, a commonality in between both of your roles for me, it sounds like that it involves relationships and relationship building. So that's clearly a key skill that's necessary. But in between both of your roles, what are some other key skills that you think really drives or drove what you do and what you did?
Communication is definitely a big thing to be able to do. I think just being organized and communicating internally with all the different departments that you need. I think partnerships is unique because I really do talk to every single person in this organization. I think when I was in ticketing, I felt like I was talking to a lot of people, but I really have to hone in and trust different people in the organization to know that they're going to do their jobs, which I know that they will. So I think communicating clearly what you need with internally and with the partner on what their expectations are, making sure you're organized in that way. Being on time.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's always a big one.
Especially for you Gen Z, that's a huge one.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I think too, just building a relationship with someone, making eye contact, being professional. I think those are skills that sometimes get lost.
Yes.
And I think that it means a lot to people to be able to communicate clearly, to be a young professional and take those skills that you're learning wherever you are into the professional world. Writing clear emails, I think go a long way too. And those are things that I think that people don't really talk about anymore, of just taking your time. I always remind myself, take a deep breath. I know it's a big day, but write a clear email, put everything out there so that they understand. And it goes a long way with people, I think, especially in the partnerships world. People really appreciate you being organized and being on top of things and timely.
Did you learn any of these skills, in any of your classes at Baylor, or is this some of the things you just kind of came by naturally?
Dr. Wakefield, man, he's a genius. He really is. And Dr. Lane. They're both great. I don't know. I think I'm also kind of firstborn type A, so it probably has to do a little bit with that, if I had to guess. Maybe. But I think I think it's been a trial and error of my first job with Real Salt Lake. I think there was a kind of a big jump of, I actually really need to be really organized. And sure. Yes, I'm not in college anymore and I don't have classes and I don't have assignments necessarily due, but I still have things that need to get done in a timely manner, even though there's not it's due at 11:59 p.m. situation. And I think that really helps me stay organized with partners because these are not just fans. These are business. These are people in a business who spend their money and out of their marketing budgets, who really need my help in making sure that all of their goals happen. So I do think that it's definitely a kudos to Dr. Kirk Wakefield to making sure you are always professional and you make eye contact and you build relationships with people that matter.
First of all, your professor sounds like somebody that I need to know. This person sounds
I'll make that intro.
Yeah, we need to develop that relationship there. But earlier you said that you played soccer for 14 years. So you are a former athlete. And so now that you work in the sport, have you noticed that any of those skills that you developed as an athlete, had it transferred over to you actually working in the workplace? Because I have a lot of students that played high-level high school sports and want to work in the sport industry now. And so really talking about, hey, what you learned as an athlete can actually impact and influence you as you're working in the industry. And so since you're working in soccer and played soccer specifically, how have you seen the connections?
For sure. It's such a great question. Athlete is a loose term for me, but I think two things. One, teamwork is such a huge thing. I'm super lucky to be on such a great team here at Austin FC in the partnerships world. So just for awareness, we have a sales side and a service side of corporate partnerships. I'm on the service side. There's about 5 of us account activation managers. So a partnership, it gets sold by the sales guy, gets passed on to us for me to activate and manage that. So I know that if something were to go awry, or if I have something that I need to do quickly on a game day, I can rely on every single person on my team. Now that comes with, of course, building those relationships with people. But when you're on a team, not everyone has to be your best friend, right? Especially growing up in sports. You try your best, but sometimes those people aren't your best friends. But
it's trust. It's really all about trust.
It's trusting your teammates. It's trusting internal departments that they're going to get the things done that you need them to get done.
Sure.
And just, again, building those relationships with people, being intentional. I think having intentional conversations go a long way as well. Sure. Making sure that you're just not strictly business all the time. Like we said earlier, sports is fun. So having those intentional conversations with people. And then the other thing is, I think more because I played soccer when I was at Real Salt Lake, it was easier for me to talk about soccer with those fans and have that background knowledge of, oh, like, yes, I agree that guy didn't have the best game, but you know what? He's going to bounce back. It's going to be great. So having that soccer knowledge is helpful, but definitely if you are a football player and you want to go work in basketball, I don't think that matters that much, but.
One of the things that I see when I talk to students, and also, I've also seen this firsthand at I've got right behind me, our Get in the Game event that we run every year. This year, we're going to do it November 7th through 9th in Baltimore. But the one thing that I have seen is that there's always seems to be a number of the students that are just really shy and don't know really how to come out of their shell, or don't even know how to walk up and approach somebody and start talking. Tell me now. Clearly, you're type A. You seem very outgoing, so that may not have been your issue. But what kind of advice would you give to a student that maybe wasn't as outgoing as you are?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think I have grown a lot in that way. I remember having like a career fair day at Baylor, and I was so nervous. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat breakfast. I was so nervous to go up and talk to people, overthinking about this is my big break and I'm going to ruin it. I think learning how to manage your anxiety and stress and just treating people as if you're having a conversation with one of your friends. I think at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is being yourself. And so if being yourself isn't good enough, then maybe that's not the correct role for you.
It's just like this, we're just having a conversation, and yep. I've never met you before, and, and Dr. G hasn't met you before at any events or anything like that. So we're just having a conversation, which people have every day.
Yep. And, for sure. And I've been there. I mean, anxiety is for real and it's scary. But you know what, like you said, it's just meeting new people.
Sure.
And just having conversations, getting to know people and being intentional.
And for me, Camryn, it sounds like that you were bold, right? You were bold. Yes, you're type A, but you were bold, and it took intentionality to get to where you are now, because you went from coordinator to a promotion in less than 2 years. And obviously, a lot of students, they're going to enter the sports industry, whether it's sales, whatever, but they're going to be in that coordinator level role. Mm-hmm. And obviously, they're seeking to move up. So what are some strategies that you implemented other than type A that really got you and propelled you to that promotion in less than 2 years? Because that is absolutely incredible.
Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I think something that, like I said earlier, just like taking the time to be just intentional with people, internal and external, really just focusing on the tasks that you're given, like I had been a coordinator for a while and just being helpful where I could, asking people if they needed help, reaching out to people and making sure that there's nothing else that I could do. It's easy to get lazy. In sports, we work really long hours and we work a lot and we're with each other a lot. It's kind of like you're with your siblings all the time and that temper will come up.
Sometimes
believe me, I've been there.
Yep.
But just like looking out for the people that you're with, like setting those one-on-ones with your directors and your bosses and making sure that, you're on track. If you need constructive criticism, my team, we always talk about just how we take criticism. I'm the sensitive one on the team and I know that. And so sometimes I can't be called out in front of other people. That will hurt my feelings. But, hey, how can I be better? Or, hey, can you proofread this email for me and make sure I'm not missing anything? Just using your resources, because once you find those really great bosses and people that want to be around you, they really do want to help you and they want you to be the best that you can be in your career.
Using your resources is key, because oftentimes, we will go into these sports roles and think that we can do everything because we're trying to prove ourselves. But you need to work smarter, not harder, and utilize those resources. So I love what you said there.
Yeah. And burnout's real too. You don't want to get burnout. Use those people around you. They're there to help.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about that. Mental health is really something that you do need to work on. I mean, there's that song that Jelly Roll does called "It's Okay Not to Be Okay," and you know what? It's okay to not be okay all the time.
Okay, Neil.
Did you like that?
You did.
The boomer on the call went out and
you did your homework. You did your homework. I'm proud.
Good for me. I'm really happy with myself. You know what, Camryn? You have a chance to go back in the Wayback Machine, and that's something you don't know anything about. But you have to go and all that. What are some of the classes that maybe you wish you would have taken at Baylor that you didn't take that really would have helped you, either at your first job in Salt Lake City or even now here in Austin?
I think a class that I did take, but I didn't probably pay the best attention to is an Excel class. I think I took that my sophomore year. I know. I'm exposing myself right now. I think I took it my sophomore year, and I really wish that I took it later before I would have graduated, because that would have been really helpful. Sure. I think also public speaking is such a great class to have. Yes, it's so scary to speak in front of random people, but just learning how to speak and give presentations is going to help in the long run. I've had to give every single year, I have to give a recap of the season to a partner and in a boardroom, and I have to be my best professional self. And so learning how to be a young professional in front of those business holders, I think, is really important. How
about presentation skills? How to kind of match your presentation ability. I mean, with, things like, the right type of PowerPoint slides. I mean, I hate to say it. I hire a lot of interns, and one of the things I chastise them about a lot, nobody can read that type. It's 10 points. It's got to be, if you're going to put it up on the screen, it's got to be at least 16 points, nothing below that. And, how about those presentation skills? I mean, was that something that you were able to develop while you were at Baylor?
Yeah, I think, again, Dr. Wakefield, bless his heart.
Man, I think that, he's going to love this show.
We did. We did a lot of just like mock presentations to either class or to just people he knew in the industry, learning how to give pitches and present different ideas to partners. We did a project my senior year to the Houston Texans.
I remember it.
We were given one of their partners, and we had to pitch a new idea if their partner was deciding to renew or not. And so just things like that. I mean, there's so many resources, not only at Baylor. I mean, if you go to Baylor, that's awesome, and you should take all those classes that Dr. Kirk offers. But if not, I think there's so many different resources out there just to better yourself on presenting, on different ways to speak, and not just reading off the board, just opening yourself up, how to dress for a presentation, how to dress for an interview skills, all those different things. So they are important.
What are some of your biggest accomplishments if you had to look back already on your career, two jobs in? What is you'd say your biggest accomplishment or your best accomplishment?
My best accomplishments. Yeah, man, that's a hard one. I think that just coming into Austin and not really knowing anything about the corporate partnerships world, and just really locking myself into just being the best that I could be there, and then getting promoted to manager in under 2 years. I think that's something that I'm really proud of. And I really take pride in that. I quickly was given some partners when I came here, and then I now manage Q2, which is our stadium naming rights partner, which is really exciting and a big challenge for me, but it's been really fun. Just getting that challenge and being able to just take on all those different hard things, but they're so great and we love them here at Austin FC. But I think just being at Baylor and having no idea what I wanted to do, going into sports strategy and sales, God bless that guy that told me to study sports. And just realizing that this is kind of where my passion, growing up, my dad was always like, you need to find your passion. And I always thought that was so annoying because I didn't know what that meant. And
now you do.
Now I do. And I'm just really, really thankful to be where I'm at.
And what's the goal, Camryn? Because you went from fan relations to now you're in sponsorships. 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Do you have a goal, or are we just still vibing? What where are we now?
We're always vibing, Dr. G. We're always vibing. I think my goal right now is to be able to be as close as I can be to my boss, Allison. I think that the way that she, like I said earlier, commands a room, the way that she knows her stuff so well, to be able to be as confident as she is when she's talking to partners with her knowledge. She just talks to people knowing that she is the expert on the subject. And I think that's really great and really cool. So down the road, if I could be a SVP of corporate partnerships as close as to Allison Roscoe as I could, then that would be amazing.
I need to meet all of your mentors, from this professor to Allison.
I'll set up a happy hour.
Dr. G's loving this, meeting a lot. Look, we've met a lot of wonderful people on, in these interviews. And, in a lot of ways, it gives me a lot of optimism, a lot of hope, and, a lot of positive feelings about the future of the sports business. And, a lot of credit goes out to, faculty and teachers like Dr. G and Kirk Wakefield and Tim Koba at High Point and Dr. Narati at George Washington. I can go on and on. But, it's thanks to all of those great teachers and great educators that I think that, we're just seeing a wonderful class of young people, young women especially. And I think it's great. Okay, we're coming up on the 30 minutes, and I promise to get you out of here in 30 minutes. But so some advice. What advice would you give to young people that want to get into the sports business and then, get them into that first job in sports?
For sure. I think utilizing LinkedIn as a resource to just start networking, not even to just start asking people for jobs. I think just looking and seeing what different roles there are out there and setting up time. Sometimes people won't respond, and that's okay. But setting up time with people to just see what their roles entail and see if that's something that you would like doing. Like when I was applying for my job at Real Salt Lake, I didn't even know what a role in partnerships would look like, or honestly, fan relations. And so gaining that knowledge.
Were you scared when you had to move to Salt Lake?
I was so scared.
Right?
I was. Well, I was really excited to be skiing all the time.
Okay.
So that was fun. But I think that's another word of advice, is just looking for that person that you want to be working for.
Sure.
Sometimes working for your favorite team might not be the end goal. If
Usually
the Kansas City
not.
Chiefs want to hire me, that'd be great. Maybe someday. But looking for that mentor in your life who really wants to help you grow. Looking to maybe a new city. Maybe you want to get out of your hometown. Maybe you want to go somewhere new. We're young. If you have the opportunity to go somewhere new, take it. I'd
Sure.
never been to Utah a day in my life. And it honestly, was one of the greatest places to live. It was so fun. It's beautiful. And I learned so much.
It's funny. You went from one quirky city to another.
I know.
Salt Lake City has
my
a
dad's always
certain level of quirkiness to it. There's really no place more quirky than Austin.
Austin, I know.
When they say keep Austin weird, they aren't kidding around.
And I'm just a Kansas City girl. So, just finding all the quirky places.
Camryn, Dr. G and I want to thank you for coming on My First Job in Sports. This was a great interview. I think Austin FC should be really happy to have you on board and on their staff. And I am confident you're going to be doing big things in the sports business.
Well, I appreciate you both so much. Thanks so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Thank you for tuning in to My First Job in Sports. This show has been produced by Brad Mabey. Back episodes can be found at sportsmarketanalytics.com, on the SBRnet YouTube channel, or all major podcast platforms. If you like the show, give us a great review. Also, you can follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, or X.